to Fox and Friends first. Leaked intelligence documents obtained by The Intercept show the extent of Iran's power over its neighbor country, Iran. Here to break down, that should be Iran over Iraq. Yes. Here to break down the major points of the 700 pages of spy cables, a senior fellow from the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, Behnam Ben Taleblu. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Great to be with you, Heather. Good morning.
So tell us, what is your, first of all, your overall take on the significance of what's been unveiled?
In many ways, the significance of what is unveiled is being borne out on the streets of Iraq today. Today, countless Iraqis, including Shiites, which exist both in Iraq and in Iran, are protesting in Iraq against Iranian influence. These documents show exactly how Iran created, cultivated, and forced that influence on Iraq's politics, society, economics, and even religious institutions through money, strong-arming, assassinations, terror, and all the rest.
Yeah, let's take a look at some of those major breakthroughs in the leaked documents. I think we can pull those up on the screen as you were referencing. Amongst them, Iran actually countered U.S. influence in Iraq. Iraqis who worked for the CIA became Iranian assets. Tehran embedded itself in Iraqi political and military affairs, amongst some of the other things that you mentioned.
Yes, this is a full court press by the Islamic Republic of Iran starting in 2003 to control Iraq. And that means dominate that state, but from the bottom up. And what the documents show is that it was a full court intelligence war.
So what is in terms of our national security and efforts that we're making here at home, what signal does this send to us?
This just proves that Iraq is still worth fighting for, but that battle is going to be even more challenging than many Americans in the public thought, because remember, these are government documents, of course. As Iraqis take to the streets, the urgency of standing with them now should be more clear, as they now want a more nationalist government, a government that is free from Iranian influence. That is both in the U.S. moral interest as well as in the strategic interest to have an Iraq that can check Iran's growing influence.
So how do you define that? What do you mean in terms of more involvement from the U.S.?
So something very simple and low cost the U.S. can do without exposing more life, and that shouldn't be political, is to sanction, name and shame, penalize, and publicize those pro-Iran militias, terrorists that are rampant across Iraq, that are engaging in this crackdown. You know, Iraqi government officials talk about how snipers killing Iraqi protesters are actually not even Iraqi themselves. They're foreign. Hint, hint, they're from Iran.
Yeah, I mean, and we certainly know how that entire region is so interconnected. Let's talk about this latest news. In a historic U.S. policy shift, Secretary of State Pompeo announces Israel's West Bank settlements do not violate international law. Let's listen.
After carefully studying all sides of the legal debate, this administration agrees with President Reagan. The establishment of Israeli civilian settlements in the West Bank is not, per se, inconsistent with international law.
So just a quick response from you on this.
I think that the Secretary hit the nail right on the head. This is a return to normalcy in the U.S. position with respect to civilian settlements in the West Bank. And while it may not be a predicate for peace, it's definitely a predicate for talking about Israeli sovereignty needs and security needs that could later on set the conditions for future talks.
All right. Well, we will see. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.